Today this is the Q&A for When the World Was Young, and we have actor Leah Chang. Leah is an actor, a multimedia content producer, and co-founder of Bev's Girl Films, making films that foster inclusion and diversity on both sides of the camera. She was nominated for Best Actress in the short film Hide and Seek. Bev Girl Films collaborates with and produces multimedia content for artists, actors, designers, theatrical productions, composers, musicians, and corporations. Welcome, Leah.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here, Susan. So thrilled to be part of the closing night.
Great. And next we have writer-director Garth Kravits. Garth is an actor, singer, musician, composer, and award-winning filmmaker, director, and editor. He made his Broadway debut in the Tony Award-winning musical, The Drowsy Chaperone, and originated the role of Richie in the Broadway show, Getting the Band Back Together. Welcome, Garth.
Thank you for having us. So excited to be here.
Thanks. And next we have actor Jason Amah. Jason wrote a book, Music and Lyrics for Gold Mountain, an original musical set against the backdrop of the construction of the Transcontinental Railroad, and for which he is the 2017 recipient of the ASCAP Foundation's Cole Porter Award for his work as a composer-lyricist. Along with writing, he is an actor who has been seen on Broadway and off-Broadway stages, in regional theaters, and many international venues. Welcome, Jason.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
And next we have Virginia Wing. Virginia is a Chinese-American actress whose ancestors came to the United States in the mid-1800s, lured by the gold rush and the building of the railroads. She is currently writing about growing up Southern in the Mississippi Delta, where she was born and raised. Professionally, she has run the gamut from modeling in her youth to opera, theater, cabaret, TV, film, playwriting, directing, and producing to script analysis. That's a lot. Welcome, Virginia.
Thank you. Thank you. It's an honor to be here. Thank you.
And last but not least, we have Jo Yang. Jo is a New York-based actress who appeared in New York Theater's workshop production of Endlings before it was abruptly shut down by the pandemic. The play also had its world premiere and a full run at the American Repertory Theater. Jo can be seen in the just launched Snapchat web series Two Sides Unfaithful, and has worked in numerous films. Her TV credits include recurring roles in Showtime's The Affair and Amazon's The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, speaking Mandarin. She can also be seen on the Netflix series You and the HBO series The Flight Attendant, among others. Welcome, Jo.
Hi, so happy to be here and joining in with this wonderful experience. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you all again for taking the time to chat with us today. I wanted to start out by maybe like a short question about how did you all meet? You all do a lot of work together, and at the moment you're not even all in the same place, but what's the story behind this fantastic little team here?
Everyone that I know because of Leah Chang. So Jason and Virginia and Jo is all from knowing Leah for me.
The Asian acting community is very small in New York. And I began with, my manager was Jadine Wong, and she sort of managed all the Asian talent in New York. I'm very lucky with Virginia. She actually was my neighbor for many years. And Jo, we've all worked together.
3 degrees of separation as far as film, TV, the business.
Well, you all came together so beautifully for this film, so we're really glad to have it in our program. I was wondering, Garth, you are listed as the writer. I was wondering if this story is based on a personal experience?
Some of it is. There are aspects of the there are aspects of the relationship between children and parents or relatives that have early onset Alzheimer's or Alzheimer's based on some of my experience. And then I did a lot of research with I reached out to other people I know that had experiences in their families to get some of their experiences as well. And there's a beautiful play called Dot that wonderful actress that has worked with us in one of our films was starring in. And there are things that I gleaned from that story as well that also dealt with the same issue of a family and children dealing with elder care and dementia. So it was sort of a combination of all of those things.
One of the things that was mentioned in your submissions is specifically or particularly Chinese American parents not sharing their history with their children. So I'm wondering if you all can speak to that a little bit, your experience or observations about that.
Well, I think a lot of it is the Chinese Exclusion Act and the fear. You know, they don't want to give away too much because somebody might accidentally say the wrong thing, and the next thing you know, your entire family has been outed as having false documents. So I think, you know, it just creates this culture of silence. And we don't even realize it. We just keep passing it down because it's just all we've known.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that one of the unique experiences in writing this film was things that I thought of and things that I thought story-wise, and this was one of them, is that the mother was withholding this information, begat these really great conversations. With Jason was in my car. I think we had gone to see a show and we were driving you home after dinner or something, but we sort of were able to have a conversation about this too. So a lot of my research into how this family's dynamic, you know, a lot of it I was coming up with things I thought would really work well, but getting to discuss with Jason and Leah and Virginia and Joe experiences in their own lives or experiences in the Asian American community that they grew up. Getting to add those personal touches to the story as a writer was really special. You don't get to have that very often when you're creating something, and to be able to get the input from the team of actors in the show to help build these characters was really meaningful.
Yeah. Anyone else? Leah?
Well, I'm sixth generation Chinese American. So my parents shared a lot. and they were very young when they had me. They were 17 and 20. So I really knew the history of my parents. But I will say that I'll take it back a second in terms of, I really feel this is a universal story. Although it is very, there are aspects that are very Chinese. And we submitted the film to a festival that was not Asian American, and they didn't get it at all.
Wow.
They didn't get it at all.
Interesting.
They were very kind in their rejection of the film, but they went on to describe what it is they didn't like about it or didn't get about it. And all the things they didn't get about it were the things that
you just said. Yeah. That it's true that parents don't share certain things, that it's true that that the mother would just concentrate on her kids instead of pursuing her career, you know, things like that. And the not touching.
Yeah.
It was I was shocked because it's still universal. So I just didn't get that they didn't get it.
That's really interesting. Yeah.
You know,
what do you think? Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, you know, us knowing each other for decades, because this was a 2-day shoot. And we were able to create an instant family with all the family dynamics and all the sort of tension and unsaid things because we all share this culture. You know, we're all from the same place.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's really great. This is why platforms like DisOrient exist, I guess. And I think it's really great to have the film because I know that it's going to spark a lot of conversation and exploration of people within their families and with their elders for all the reasons that you said, because it is significant. Yeah.
Well, and I think that a lot of us are of the age where we're just like you, Susan, taking care of elders.
Exactly.
I mean,
Exactly.
my mom is gone, but my father is 75 years old and has multiple myeloma, and there's a lot of different things going on with that. But there are choices to be made, and there was that real shift at the end of the film when she comes back, because she was really on her path out of there.
Yeah. Yeah. Joe, what did you want to say?
I just was going to add that as a short film, it really had that arc, and you could get this whole storyline in the amount of time that we're actually on screen. And it's always nice too when you have a smaller cast, and as Jason said, that we all knew each other, so it really congealed in that sense. I think a message comes across in a short amount of time.
Yeah, and that takes a lot of skill to do. So kudos to the team and Garth for putting that together so well.
Sure, and I can give a shout out to the rest of our team that may help make this movie possible, which was Erica Lizaga, who was our assistant director, and to Dorothy Barter, who was our hair and makeup, and to our little Pixicus, who was our PA, who was our everything. So without the three of them, we couldn't have done it in the time that we did, and they just added to the family that we had in front of the camera as well.
Yeah, great.
That was
That's
it.
Wonderful.
That's all he
wonderful.
had.
So Virginia, I want to talk to you a little bit. I want to hear what you have to say. You have had quite the illustrious career from modeling in your youth to opera, theater, playwriting, film, writing a book now. That's just amazing. And you're still so beautiful and producing so much. Kudos to you for doing it all. So I'm wondering, here we are in 2021, what do you see maybe as a biggest change or, difference from where we are now from maybe when you started acting or modeling, for yourself, for Asian Americans? What's the difference in that arc of time for you?
It's funny that when I first started out, there wasn't that much difference in casting people. I got cast as, I was the first Louisa in the Fantastics, and I did lots of TV stuff where it didn't call for an Asian or Chinese. But through the years, it's gotten like tighter, this thing of your culture is this, and they put you in sort of a little, whatever you want to call it. It seems that people are not as open. It kind of shifted, and now I get so angry that we're Americans, unlike Leah. My ancestors came in the 1850s, and I'm like, I think, fourth generation. So that's why I was writing a letter to the editor of the New York Times, and the beginning was, "I am an American, damn it."
Yay.
It's, I remember once I heard that Norman Lear and Alex Haley, who wrote Roots, were doing TV show, an ongoing TV show about the Tennessee, growing up in Tennessee in the 30s. So I wrote Norman Lear and I said there were a lot of Chinese in the 30s in those little towns. So I got a phone call from Alex Haley, who was picking my brain like crazy. So I spoke to him several times. So by the time they wrote the script, I'm sure they handed it to other people, By the time they wrote the script, the Chinese were not part of that town. They were coming into the town as foreigners, and they cured things with their acupuncture and their herbs, and they were just stereotypical whatever that writer thought Chinese were. And that's been some time ago, but I don't think it's changed, So I think what's wonderful about this festival is that we all need to get on the ball, and we are getting on the ball to show, not to show, but to involve people in who we are. And we're Americans,
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
agree? Yeah.
Well said. Anyone else want to comment? Yeah, we're all going to raise our voices, right? That's the theme this week, and we are doing that. So thank you all for helping us do that, helping us to hold this platform right now at such an important time. Okay, I'm gonna have us move on and bring Jason into this conversation. Jason Mack is the founder of DisOrient, and he is going to do the interview for Dawn and Coming Home Again. Hi, Jason.
Hi, Susan. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
You and Pam are really the heart of this festival, and so grateful for everything you and the DisOrient crew keep doing. You are what drives this festival, so thank you.
Well, we're just carrying on that vision you had, Jason, so thank you.
No, I just want to sit in the back of the theater whenever that happens again.
I know, we roped him in this year. So
I keep coming out of retirement.
Yeah.
But I want to welcome you all at home. Again, my name is Jason Mack. I am really super excited today to have producer Donald Young of the film Coming Home Again, our DisOrient closing night feature. In public television, Donald has supervised the national broadcast of over 150 award-winning projects. As a producer, he has worked both in documentaries and independent feature films. Key projects include the epic 5-hour PBS history series, Asian Americans, a co-production with WETA and produced by Renee Tajima. Family Pictures, USA by Thomas Allen Harris, and the feature film adaptation of tonight's Chang Lee's Coming Home Again, directed by Wayne Wang. So welcome, Donald. So glad you could be here today. And I believe you're calling in from San Francisco, correct?
That's right.
Yeah, welcome. Congratulations on Coming Home Again. It is such a beautiful film. And I've got to say, by far, my favorite Wayne Wang film I've seen.
Thank you very much.
Just to kind of jump into it, could you just tell us a little bit about the film Coming Home Again, what it's about, and how did the project come about?
Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, congratulations to the DisOrient team. We were talking about screening the film in 2020 before things really changed around the world. So first of all, obviously the festival and all you do for the community it's appreciated and needed more than ever, right? And happy to be a part of this. Wayne wasn't able to make it today, so he sends his regards. But I'm happy to be here. And it's interesting listening to just the earlier Q&A. There's a lot of similarities in terms of the film itself, but also I think the ethos of the way in which that film was made. We had been, I'd done a previous film with Wayne, The Princess of Nebraska, back in 2008. But so the idea for before Coming Home Again was actually to do a virtual reality version, sort of sequel to Chang is Missing. Back around like 2016, 2017, VR was kind of surfacing in the Bay Area and in creative spaces. With Chang is Missing being such an immersive film, we thought, well, let's see if Wayne would be open to trying out a new platform and seeing what would be possible. We had been working on a little bit, and then sadly the lead actor of Chang is Missing, Wood Moy, passed away, I think in the end of 2017. He lived, I think he was like 99, so he lived a really great life, did significant work. But then Wayne pivoted and suggested that he'd always been wanting to adapt the short story by Chang Lee, Coming Home Again, which was in the New Yorker, back in the 90s. So, we got a little grant from the NEA, the National Endowment for the Arts, and assembled a pretty small team and shot in the fall of 2018, right? And it turns out it was at my grandmother's home in San Francisco on Nob Hill. She had passed away just the year before. And we really approached it almost like a workshop, right? Wayne had sketched out scenes, had worked with Chang Ray to conceive of certain dialogue and interaction and character motivations. But for Wayne, it was really important to have the actors, Justin and Jackie and others, kind of bring their life experience to the characters on top of, really building on top of what the short story that Chang Ray put together. So we shot, it was really a quick shoot. I think we only had around 11 shoot days in August of 2018. And, really the story and the narrative emerged as we went. I think for Wayne, it was a real desire to return to telling, a story as it kind of emerges in front of his eyes. That was important to him.
Wow. Sounds like there was a lot of collaboration, especially around the shared experience of loss with Chang Ray, losing his mom. Sounds like Wayne also drew upon some of his experiences with his mother.
That's right. Yeah.
And then you shooting at your grandma's place.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's heavy.
Yeah, and I think both Wayne and his wife, they had lost their parents the previous few years. So it was all of that. So the film came out October of last year. It was a digital release. And I think, the film got some really nice reviews, but in some ways, I think it was a little bit of a symbolism of what we were all going through in terms of COVID, right? Thinking through, certainly the mom in the film is dying of stomach cancer, but all of us were going through what are these important questions, conversations we want to have with family members, knowing, if one is to pass, what are the discussions you have to have, you wish you could have, or you haven't had, right? So it was really interesting releasing the film last year, and I think a lot of critics and viewers kind of channeled what we were all going through.
Absolutely. That was actually going to be one of my questions: is how did this play differently to a pandemic audience?
We initially the film was supposed to come out, do a limited theatrical last May, right around Mother's Day, and then May of last year there was just really no sense of what to do with smaller films like this, right? So theaters had shut down at that point, and then the infrastructure of like what the festival is screening on, we all have been watching films a lot more streaming or on these digital platforms, right? So we postponed it and then pushed it to October. And it turned out to be a wise distributor. We worked with a small distributor, Outsider Pictures. And, I think in that period of time, he was able to kind of reconstruct a strategy. And timing was everything for the film, right? I think had we come out, we honestly were worried that the film would feel too depressing, right? That, in a time when, certainly last October, we hadn't seen the big kind of end of year wave of the coronavirus. But we had seen enough loss of life where we knew, perhaps audiences didn't want to see a film where a family member was going to pass. But I think quite the otherwise happened. You know, for Wayne, it was a very powerful, important experience. He felt like the film, in many ways, was the most personal one he had worked on. I don't know that it's been a widely appealing film, but for those who wanted to think this moment through, just it seemed to be a symbolic film and kind of help Asian Americans and other audiences just kind of channel that conversation we need to have with our families, right?
Absolutely. Made me want to call my mom afterwards.
Yeah, that's good. And cook a meal for her, right? So
yeah. So, you know, speaking of meals, food plays a huge part, obviously, in this film, beginning with, you know, the kalbi and the detailed steps in preparing it. Could you talk a little bit about the metaphor of food in this film, as well as I know the complexities of setting up for shooting it?
Mhm. Yeah, so we were fortunate enough to work with the really distinguished Korean chef Corey Lee from Benu. He's a Michelin star celebrated chef in San Francisco and is a friend of Wayne's, and Chang. So we were fortunate to have a really distinguished chef who could create a meal that was really meant to channel the kind of meals that his mom made for him, right? And he really tried to construct a menu as if he were going to make that meal for his mom, right? So there was a lot of care that he purchased all the items, all of the cutlery, and really it was a conversation whereby he felt he could create something that felt right for the family in the film. But certainly, I think food for Asian Americans, for Asians, it is meant to be kind of the pathway of expressing what might not be expressed in families, right? So, preparing a meal is a way in which you show love, but also bring family together, right? And it's also an opportunity to create memories and to spend time together, right? So, I think on the one hand, it was about expression, but also, food is just such a visceral experience, right? In some ways, we it's often the way into memories and how we share time together, right? So I think for Wayne, that's always been a critical part of triggering emotions and conversations and bringing people together in a way that is both beautiful, visceral, but also perhaps an opportunity to bring people together to have a conversation that, if the food's not there, it's probably not going to happen, right?
Yeah, and food as memory, with the flashback scenes are very poignant, and I love how it was really done so subtly, and you didn't really know as a viewer sort of your sense of time, but you would get your bearings. Can you talk about sort of that artistic choice of, I don't know if you can, but what was that, a post-production decision, or was that a, a pre-production?
Well, it was sort of both, right? I think it was always known that food would be the central device to to really, I think, to propel all of the characters on their journey in the context of the film. And Wayne and Rich Wong, the DP, they had conceived of these different filmic strategies for flashbacks versus present day versus the look and feel, which are very subtle, but they had constructed, handhold versus lockdown, and creating different experiences for memory and for food for present day. So that was, I think, deliberate on his part. But then the writing, so a lot of the voiceover got shaped over different iterations of the film. So we did probably 4 to 5 edits of the film, and the voiceover would really adapt. And I think over time, what Wayne really brought to the story I think, which was a little different from the short story, was thinking the Chang Justin Chan character as if they're experiencing it here and now. So he added a certain level of anger and resentment that, as you could see towards the end, could be taken out on the food, right? So I think that, in fact, the kalbi and the meat and the flesh has this added symbolism of, flesh and blood and muscle and family, right? So that sort of evolved over time, and I think that's something that Justin brought to the character, because he hasn't lost his parents. It was really more for him, for Justin, trying to think through having to have the hard conversations, and what that present day, how that would feel to him now, right? Because what are the things that he'd want to surface, and the emotions and the discussions that he'd want to have that he hasn't been able to, right? As
Yeah,
somebody who's younger, right?
It was a great performance by Jason Chan and Jackie. Can you talk about the casting process and how you ended up with them?
Sure. Well, Wayne had always wanted to work with Justin, and acting side, he wants folks who can bring their own voices and perspectives to the storytelling, right? So, it's pretty incredible. But so during the shoot, Justin was editing Miss Purple at night. We didn't find out until later that his editor so we put him up in Japantown in San Francisco for a couple of weeks. But it's only after the shoot that he told us, "Oh, I just want to tell you now, because I didn't know if you'd get ticked off, but my editor was staying with me those 3 weeks in my hotel, and he was cutting during the day as we were filming with him. And then additionally, in between takes, Justin was writing Blue Bayou, which is a new film that he's directed that will be premiering later this year. So, Justin's just amazing. And I think Wayne really felt he was a kindred spirit, right? Creatively, a maverick, a real authentic Asian American voice, but somebody who really, I think, can speak to here and now, in ways that Wayne felt when he was starting out, right? I think he really has deep respect for Justin. Jackie was somebody who was discovered through our casting agent, Heidi Levitt, who also cast a number of Wayne's films, including Joy Luck Club. And, Jackie was much more well-known in theater. And, we really were, it was a privilege to find her and to be able to work with her, because you could see she just brings a certain kind of gravitas to the role, right? I think everybody, she's been really universally well received of being able to, carry a very difficult role in terms of the mom, both past and present, who, is, by virtue, who the Justin Chang character has to wrestle demons with, right? So I think Jackie is amazing, and she was filming with us. So she would only film with us for like 4 days a week, because she was also doing a play in LA at the time. So she, it was incredible. She gave us her time for the film.
Yeah, I didn't even realize it was Jackie playing that role until probably halfway through the film, because last time I saw her, I think she was playing a young girlfriend. So that totally threw me for a trip.
Yeah.
I was really struck by how little dialogue is actually in this film. Could you talk about that choice?
Yeah, for Wayne, the film harkens back to a lot of the work of the Japanese master Yasujiro Ozu, right? So who would often do family dramas, or not often, I think actually all of his films were about family dramas, really tensions between generations. And what particular filmmaking, really the device that he created in film was bringing, silence into the space of storytelling, right? So those pauses, when you look at isolated shots in a home, are in fact an opportunity to think through in between the conflict and the tension and what's happening between the characters, right? So that for Wayne was really important. You know, I think it works well in the context of a family's home, but also in between emotions, that's a pretty typical personal experience, right? Where you really need those moments to process and to, you know, hopefully progress or to stew on. So, yeah.
So I actually want to turn to your work at the Center for Asian American Media, CAM. You're pretty prolific. You've worked on quite a number of really important Asian American films. I'm just curious, what's been your experience so far, and how'd you make all that stuff happen?
Well, you know, I think CAM, we've been fortunate enough to be in the Bay Area and a part of a lot of, you know, I think the growth of the filmmaking community, you know, as we were doing the, but our tech run before this Q&A, it was great to talk with Leah and Virginia and the team. You know, I think we consider ourselves part of these different generations of the community, right? You know, I don't know what to say. We're just fortunate to have been a part of this wave of, a lot of our work is in the documentary space. You know, this feature is a rare project for us. And then, you know, we're able to host a film festival like DisOrient. And that's a great way of meeting, you know, connecting with the different generations of creators in front of and behind the camera. You know, this kind of work's always been important for me. And it's just great how so much is just developing in front of our eyes the last few years, right? You know, as a side note, when we were shooting Coming Home Again, it was happening literally at the 30-year anniversary of the Joy Luck Club. But parallel, so Wayne was prepping all these conversations around the anniversary, but separately, that was also, I think like 2/3 of the crew and cast went to see the premiere of Crazy Rich Asians, right? So the film really for us was kind of an interesting kind of counterpoint, I think, for Wayne being such an important part of our filmmaking community, right? So the film was a little bit of a workshop, but I think an opportunity for those working on the film to have this dialogue with you know, amongst ourselves, and then to eventually release the film. So,
well, thank you so much, Don, for being with us, and thank you for your body of work. It's so important to our community. And I am supposed to bring on everyone else who was from the short, and Susan, and we're going to take some questions from the audience. So if you have some questions for our esteemed panelists, both from the short film or the narrative film, please type it into the Eventive chat and we will get it over here on Zoom.
I have a comment I would like to make, and I'm hoping you all might be able to comment on the comment. I was struck by, you know, in Asian cultures, there's this responsibility to take care of your elders. And, but in a modern American society, it's really complicated to do that. You know, you don't always live in the same area, you've moved away. So there's a lot of guilt maybe of being able to do that better or worse. I'm wondering if any of you have any observation or comment about that, and how our current times affect what has been handed down to us culturally to do.
Well, I'd like to share with my father, Russell Chang. He first got diagnosed with multiple myeloma in 2013. And he resides in Henderson, Nevada. And he had all of his treatment in LA, and my sister lives in El Segundo, and she's a physical therapist, Tammy Chang. And so she took care of him, all of his post, you know, recovery at her home for a period of time. And then he had a second bout of it and the same thing as well for all of his bone marrow transplants, et cetera, et cetera. My sister Marissa Chang Flores, it lives in the Bay Area, but she would go to, when he was back in Henderson, she would go to Henderson and take care of him there. And most recently, my niece Asia Flores went to Henderson, Nevada. But here I am in New York, and where we had the worst as far as COVID-19 coronavirus is concerned, I couldn't go anywhere. So there is a huge guilt factor involved, but my family, my siblings and my niece really came through, and my brother-in-law Carlos really came through.
Mm-hmm. And as you see in the film too, it's always this, it's also this huge opportunity for connection and for reckoning with the relationship, you know. So it's really a positive thing when that can happen. It's so powerful when that can happen. Yeah.
Well, the connection in the film, I don't know if the audience realizes this, but all of the photographs that we're looking at are Virginia. And actually the music playing while we're looking at the photographs are Virginia singing. So,
wow.
You know, for us, Garth, I want to really celebrate my writer director, Garth Kravits, my partner, Bev's Girl Films. When he sought out to make a film, write a film that would include Virginia and Jason and myself, we really wanted to tap into Virginia's legacy, that she really is an Asian American pioneer for all of us. And it's a celebration. When the World Was Young is a celebration of her.
Wonderful.
Thank you. I feel very humble. But you guys were so wonderful. Garth, I can't believe how you got it all together in such a short time.
We had a fantastic team of people.
Yeah. Oh, really?
And again, Jason pointed out too that, you know, to have a cast that was family before we started shooting, and then bringing Joe into that family as well, you know, it was magical to watch the four of you just sort of click instantly. And what's great is because all of you have your own experiences with family, your own experiences with the culture. It didn't take very long for me to, you know, the minute I would start explaining to, for instance, to Joe, you know, in the relationship with Virginia, and she's like, instantly knows exactly where I'm headed, exactly what I'm talking about. And there was very, that's always lovely as a director too, to have actors that really understand how important a part, you know, what family is. And as Jason pointed out, this particular group of people connected so quickly and already had history and then connected so quickly. But it was, you know, for me, knowing a project that we'd done with Virginia where I got to hear all these recordings of her and hear these amazing stories of her incredible career. I was in the cabaret place where Virginia sings in the movie. We were seeing a concert there, and it struck me that's what I wanted. I wanted to do something where Virginia could sing. And that's where the idea of the movie started to come into focus for me, was how can I get it so that Virginia would walk away from her children and go sing in this club? And that's where these ideas started coming from. But really this whole film started by wanting to celebrate Virginia and you know, what she has done in her career and what she has built as a foundation for others to work from.
Thank you.
And she didn't disappoint.
Can I just say something from the other side of the caring for the parents? Because I'm over 80 now and don't feel like I need to be taken care of. But I have a daughter who has 2 kids and a husband, and they have a house in Brooklyn. And they built me this spectacular apartment in the basement of their house. And I say they lock me in there and throw food in once a day. But they're so great, except when you get older, you forget words. So every time I forget a word or I'm kind of fooling around trying to remember something, her eyes, I call her the Alzheimer police, because her eyes go, oh no, she's Alzheimer, you know? So I just want to say to you who are taking care of your parents, don't let your parents see that. Okay?
Point taken.
So Susan, I think we have a question for Don. How was it for you as a producer to work on a feature narrative as opposed to the documentaries that Cam is known for?
I can answer that quickly. It was, well, because so much of how Wayne likes to work is almost documentary style. He likes to really have the perform, which it sounds like on the short, you know, you you really want the performers to bring some kind of real experience, lived experience to the performances. Right? So it wasn't too hard. It's a different thing. Documentary, you can keep filming till you get it. Narratives, if you don't get it, you're in trouble. That's the big difference, right? So.
And we have another question from Carol Dennis. Is there a tension between highlighting a specific culture and looking for universal themes? And I guess that's general to anybody.
I don't know that there's a tension as much as there is discovery in trying to create a universal story about family while also trying to highlight the cultural aspects of that family. That to me was more about finding these really fascinating crossovers where you're looking at everything universal and things in a, you know, in a smaller scope. How do you make those things universal? That's where we just turned all the focus towards the relationships. You know, the relationship the brother and sister have, the relationships they each have to their mother, and the relationship that Joe's character has to all three of them. That's universal. I mean, those you can tag those along, but to tell them in a story that is also hiding the cultural, I don't see it as tension as much as I see it sort of dovetailing really nicely and bringing the cultural aspect of it more into focus while not losing the universality of what this family is going through.
Another issue that I really liked between the two films is, and I really credit Chang Ray for his writing, and he really got an understanding of an appreciation for his mother in processing it all and spending time with her. And so it comes out in the film, and so both films show how often mothers, and especially women, their stories and even their presence kind of gets overlooked by the family, by the children, and was a really nice exploration of a son really recognizing his mother in more of her fullness for the first time. And also in When the World Was Young, it was the same thing. They didn't know that there was all this about their mother until they actually came back and spent time with her. So just interesting how I think that happens for women in particular, and mothers also.
Well, and that was something that we really wanted to highlight with Leah's character. How both Jason's character and Leah's character approached whether or not they were going to take care of the mother, or how they would approach it very, very differently. And one of the conversations that Leah and I had was the difference between a daughter and a mother in a Chinese American family than a son and a mother, and how her character, how Virginia would speak to her daughter differently the way she would speak to her son and treat her daughter, and vice versa. So we had many conversations about that relationship dynamic as well, and how that helped them come up with their choices as to how they were going to help their parent or get to know them.
my question for the panel is, so a lot of you have been around Asian American cinema for a little while. How far do you think we've come from the earliest films like Chan is Missing? Where do you think we are now? Do you think we have achieved the types of things that early Asian American filmmakers and artists thought we would achieve? Or is there more work to be done?
Oh, there's way more work to be done. I was really interested. So as we were doing this, prepping for the Q&A, I looked up Virginia and saw you were nominated for an NAACP award, right? So I was like,
Yeah.
you know, if you think about like all of that, and I think the conversation of the kinds of stories that you had, I hope I'm not saying too much, but growing up in the American South and wanting to complete that story, you look at, I think in some ways, a film like Minari is not necessarily a new film, right? It's a family coming to America and trying to make its way, but in other ways, it feels so fresh and of the time. So I think the potential is really fabulous, but we're really at baby steps in terms of much more interesting, compelling, sophisticated stories, right?
Yeah.
I completely agree with that, but I would like to say that having been on a 24-hour binge of the DisOrient Film Festival, there are so many exciting young voices that I got to see, and the future is now. It's now. And I think that, you know, unfortunately, with what has happened for Asian Americans throughout the pandemic and in the last 2 weeks, the work is now.
Yeah.
And I grew up in San Francisco, really, to me, the most Asian American, Chinese American of all cities, and I went to school in San Francisco, Chinatown, but I never saw myself in mainstream media. And it wasn't until I came to New York and started working. I worked as a model, I worked as an actor. And, but to me, the importance of being an Asian American filmmaker and having our stories and having our presence on screen, that we are American, and the humanity. Something that I really love about your film is, and our film is really, it's the humanity that is shown. And it doesn't get any more simple than that.
Mm-hmm.
With that, I want to thank all of our panelists. You have been amazing. Thank you for letting us screen your wonderful films. And I have the pleasure, and I'm being directed to move on to our next artist. My boss is my wife, so I have to listen. And I have the pleasure of introducing our musical guest, Ben Phantom. Ben is a songwriter, videographer, multi-instrumentalist, music producer, traveler, and long-distance hiker. His path, carved by music, has taken him to the North American wilderness, to Vietnam, Cambodia, Israel, Central America, and finally to his mountain home in Asheville, North Carolina. Phantom is a passionate and captivating performer who writes from the heart, speaks to the soul, and never forgets to find humor in life. He believes that we heal each other through the building of community, developing deep relationships, and being of service. I was really honored to moderate a panel where his film, his short music video was playing, and Ben is going to honor us tonight with, I think, a selection of 3 songs. So please, Ben, take it away.
Yeah, Jason, thank you so much for having me. I was just sitting here listening to everyone and was just blown away by the level of authenticity and experience that I've heard. So I just feel truly honored to be among you tonight and to be a part of this festival. You know, the first song I'm going to play is called Close. And when I think about the connections that we share over time and space and even death, I'm just amazed at how those connections just transcend all those things. And I've really felt that as a part of this festival. I've never met any of y'all in person, but working with the producers and watching all these films and just being really touched, I've felt a sense of connection to this community and to the film. So this is a song called Close. Felt you in the breeze, follow the calling, brought me to my knees, over the forest, felt you in the pine, sweet soft music, you're coming down the line, keep me close when you're on the open road, find the light when darkness grows, I will always love you. Deeper than belief, tearing down the border, leading you to me, keep me close when you're on the open road, find the light when darkness grows, I will always love you. The time, space, and poetry, metaphors and similes, all the beauty that I see when I feel you next to me. The time, space, and poetry, metaphors and similes, all the beauty that I see when I feel you next to me. Sing your song, whether it is right or wrong, though it won't be here for long, I will always love you. When you're on the open road, find a light when darkness grows, I will always love you. Something inside you burning like the sun, something inside you showing me that it's enough. Thank you. That's Close. I'm gonna adjust my headphones real quick. Y'all can hear me okay, right? So I was honored to have one of my music videos be a part of DisOrient. And to be honest, it's been really one of the greatest experiences of this year for me. It's just been super connecting to connect with other Asian artists. And the song is about my dad. My dad was born in Saigon, and he escaped in 1975, a few days before the war ended. He came to the States and raised me, and growing up, you know, being Vietnamese was a part of my identity, but it was never something that I really understood. My dad never really talked about it. And finally, he was convinced to go back to Vietnam 42 years later, and I got to go with him and film the trip. We met family I never knew I had before, and went to our personal family cemetery, and I made a music video from that experience. So the song is called Saigon, and I'm going to play that for you now. All my time spent wandering, running from what could have been, chasing something deep within, only finding suffering. Oh, where do I go now? Take me to the light, show me who you are. Underneath the cigarettes that burn inside your car, down below your skin, take me deep within. Take me to a place we can finally begin. Oh my God, you're in my bones. Oh my love, please take me home. Tired of this lonely road. Oh my God, please take me home. All my time spent following people I was copying, chasing something deep within, only finding suffering. Oh, am I falling down? Take me in between reality and dreams, break all of the rules that try to hold me at the seams. Down below your skin, take me deep within. Take me to a place we can finally begin. Oh my God, you're in my bones. Oh my love, please take me home. Tired of this lonely road. Oh my God, please take me home. I'm not myself if you're not with me. Blood and bones of family history. Didn't know how much you missed me. Not myself if you're not with me. Not myself if you're not with me. Blood and bones of family history. Didn't know how much you miss me. Not myself if you're not with me. Oh my God, you're in my bones. Oh my love, please take me home. Tired of this lonely road. Oh my God, please take me Thank you so much. That was Saigon, the story of my father escaping Vietnam and then returning to his home. You know, I think something really special happens when we connect to our roots, and this festival has been a big part of that for me. So I just want to say thank you again for having me. This last song I'm going to play kind of came out of this last year. I'm sure I wasn't the only one who found 2020 a little bit difficult. And throughout my life, I've struggled with some depression, some addiction, and you know, I felt the stigma of those mental illnesses. And so this song is called Move Along, and that's kind of my message to myself and to my community, is that, you know, whatever we're struggling with, whatever you're struggling with, I hope that you're able to, and that I'm able to, find acceptance around that, do what I need to do to take care of myself, and then keep it moving. You know, not to say that I deny what's going on, but just kind of putting one foot in front of the other and trying to be creative and be productive and be of service. So this is the song I'm working on in my studio right now, and we'll be working on the video sometime this next year. So this is called Move Along. I'm tired and lonely, looking for an answer. Nothing seems to come my way. I don't want to go back to the way I was living. Don't know what I'm doing these days. But I put one foot in front of the other. I miss my brother, miss my old lover. I'm scared, but I won't run for cover. I'll move along. I'll move along. It's been 9 long months since I lost my best friend. Nothing seems to fill its place. I've tried whiskey and beer in dark, lonely alleys. It's done nothing to lead me astray. But I put one foot in front of the other. I miss my brother, miss my old lover. I'm scared, but I won't run for cover. I'll move so much for having me. It's truly been an honor to be at DisOrient.
Ben,
Yay.
that was wonderful. You have me all emotional now, and I have to be composed, but what a lovely performance.
Ben, I
Thank you
really
so much.
want to.
Sorry about the feedback there.
I really want to thank you. We're so grateful for your spirit just imbuing our whole festival this year. And I don't think the audience realizes that this is the way the universe works. You know, we didn't go seeking out Ben. He kind of dropped from the universe into our sphere and became, you know, the sound of our festival this year. And so perfectly, I mean, I think your songs, your sincerity just is so perfect for this moment and for our festival this year. So thank you for all that you've brought to this festival and helping us hold this platform for Asian American voices.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes,
Yeah.
Ben, we can't have imagined more perfect music and lyrics to go with our theme of raising our voices. And so thank you so much for your generous spirit and your beautiful art.
Just so honored to be a part of it. Really, really appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.